This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for March 3rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. And if we could just sort of stay in place, but say our Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice
for all. It's always so hard to get that in unison. It's impossible, I think. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Do we have anyone here for Citizen Speak? Anything that's not on the agenda? You'll have to probably raise your hand if so, because I'm not seeing necessarily everybody. Or just shout out if you are there. Okay, not seeing anyone. So let us move on. Okay. All right, so let's go to the town reports. We'll start with Scott briefly.
Sorry, not much, but the budget going on and wrapping up the free cash and the trying to get the audit. So nothing much to report right now.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear more details as we go along tonight, so that's fine. Anybody from Select Board? I know we just met very recently. Have you had another meeting in between time that you want to report on, or is there anything that's happened in the last few days that you've been to a meeting?
I was at CONCOM last night.
Okay.
Went in person, and it was a second public hearing for the 4353 Pleasant Street project.
Okay.
And wasn't a whole lot that went through, so it was agreed to put that off until the next meeting, which will be, let's see here, put that off until March 2nd. Nope. No, I'm looking for my dates. Sorry about that. Anyway,
Must be
it'll be that put off till the next meeting later in the month. Exactly.
Okay. So the hearing was continued then, I take it.
The hearing was good. The public hearing was continued. And so what else we had? There were some questions about questions of abutters. That seems to be quite a big issue with a couple of the folks living on Pleasant Street on what constitutes who needed to be notified as abutters, 43 as opposed to 53. And it seemed like they wanted to be looking for kind of a legal opinion, town council, as to where they stand with that, and kind of clarify if everyone who should have been notified was notified.
Okay.
That was about it. I believe so. That was the major one anyway.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Anybody else? John or Stephen? Any other committees? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Nothing really on my end either. Just continuing. Nothing major news from the last meeting. Still working on a couple of grants and things like that. All right. So let us get into the business of tonight. We have.
Madam
Stephen.
Chair.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was muted. The weather and postponements of meetings, plus our very busy schedule around the budget, conspired such that I missed an open space meeting and I missed a Greenway committee meeting.
Okay.
But last night, the Housing Trust had an extraordinarily productive meeting. We too are looking for legal services to review the document of trust. There's a piece that we have to record at the Registry of Deeds to further confirm the establishment of our trust, and we need legal review for that. And then we're gearing up with Sierra Simmons as liaison to the CPC committee for town meeting on May 2nd, because the trust will, with support of the Housing Authority, apply for funding, a transfer of some funds from the designated housing account under the CPA to the trust.
Okay.
It's very complicated, but it
Yep.
is important to know that it's coming for town meeting. And therefore, again, with Sierra's help, we'll be working on a warrant article.
The
Very good.
next CPC meeting is, I think, on the 11th.
What
I don't know if
happened?
that fits your timing.
Okay.
That's what we're hoping to. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
That's all.
If that's it for the select board committee votes. Okay. So Scott, we've got a few items to go through, and then we'll join in with the FinCom. They're here, but we'll officially start that part of the meeting. So the first thing I think on the agenda is this deficit amortization for the Hampshire County Insurance Trust.
Yes. So this was legislation that was passed a couple months ago that would allow members currently in the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust that are leaving to essentially take the runout claims, which is the amount of money that the town may or may not owe up until when we leave on July 1st. So depending on how much that amount is, the state is allowing us to essentially pay it off and then spread the debt over the next 5 years. So by a vote of the select board, Bradley and I, we're going to have to do a little bit of filling out of the forms once we get everything caught up, but it essentially allows us to go into debt for 5 years and then pay it off at the end of the 5 years. Now, I do want to just make note that it had put $25,000 into this year's budget just to start the fund. We are not going to know the exact amount until probably mid to late fall at the best. So this would just, once we get that amount, then we're going to be able to report that to DLS.
And this would be something, though, that we would try to pay off every year over the 5 years. Is that right? Or we wouldn't wait until the fifth
Depending on
year?
the amount, I mean, it could be, I don't know, 50,000. It could be 300,000. We just really won't know until mid fall.
Wow. So we're signing basically, I mean, what kind of figures are you going to have to be able to fill in then? We're signing kind of a blank form here.
Mostly the signature page, and then some of the other stuff. We're going to be doing the deficit of FY27, so we're going to fill that in once we actually get that. But we do need to submit the signature page that the select board had adopted it, which is right here.
Okay, so this is the one that just certifies that we've moved out of the Hampshire County Trust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody have questions, select board folks?
Yeah, I do, Chris.
John, go ahead.
Scott, what happens to the initial deposit that we made? I think it's like $57,000 way back when. Do we get credit for that against whatever this deficit's going to be?
I think it's a little bit. I think it's like around 27, which
Okay.
has been static for the last 20 or 30 years. Whenever we did put that initial investment in, which is another issue to talk about later on, and how it was managed. But technically, according to the trust agreement, the runout fees are first deducted from whatever reserve account that we have with the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust.
So, okay, so in theory, if it is 27,000, we would go in debt above that number if anything materialized.
I mean, that's a different argument. I would probably say that according to the trust agreement, that is their only way to recoup the money, but that's a different argument.
But for
Okay.
simplicity to move forward on a vote tonight, in theory, if we have a $30,000 bill and we're sitting with a $27,000 credit, we're on the hook for $3,000 would be our stance, right?
My stance would be only the 27.
I understand that. Well, then we don't need to sign this because there's no reason for us to go into debt.
Well,
If we're only on the hook for 27,000, then we can pass.
I mean, that's a different legal argument, though.
I think it's going to end up being more than that. I would assume. No, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we were getting figures that were, much greater than that, but still less than the 100,000. I mean, it was in the 50,000s or something, wasn't it, at one point?
I mean, it's really going to be about 3 months of runoff claims, and it depends on how quickly those bills get into the insurance carriers and what's paid and what's not paid.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So by our signature tonight, we're just signifying that we have taken the steps to leave the Hampshire County Trust, and that should there be money owed as runout costs, we want to pay it over a 5-year period.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Would
Yep.
someone like to make a motion to that effect?
So I'll make a motion to authorize the select board to withdraw from the Hampshire County Group Trust as of July 1st. And that it is our understanding that we will receive a credit for our initial deposit, which we believe to be in the amount of $27,000 in round numbers. And that our debt would only be at amounts in excess of that. And that we reserve the right to amortize it over 5 years should we choose to do so.
Second.
Okay. All right.
Second that.
All right. Any further, second by Stephen, I think I heard. Scott, does that meet your needs from DLS guidance?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Then if no further discussion, all those in favor, let's do a roll call, please.
Lumber,
DeBruin,
aye.
Johnson, I.
DeBruin,
Okay, Johnson,
aye.
aye. Yeah. DeBruin, aye. Lumber, aye.
Lumber, aye.
Fowles, aye. Okay, very good. Thank you. I heard everybody. All right. Thanks. So just to note, we've got several things to sign tonight, and given that we're remote, I'm going to ask that people try to stop by Town Hall whenever you can, somewhere in the next few days here, to get these papers actually signed. So there's 2 or 3 other things to be signed later on here as we go along. The next one up is the partnership request with Mass Audubon. And this is regarding the purchase of the Rattle Hill Rear Road property, otherwise known as the Charity property, that had passed at town meeting. And this is one I'll let Mark Cassis, if you're here for open space, if you'd like to talk about this. This was a $50,000 acquisition, and I think you can take it from here if you would, please.
So at town meeting, the town approved $50,000 for purchase of 40 acres off of the distant end of Rattle Hill Road. That was meant to be completely reimbursed through work of Kestrel Land Trust. And they have voted, the board has voted in Kestrel that they will provide all that money. Part of that is $18,900 that will come from the Mass Audubon Catalyst Fund. And the Mass Audubon requested that they have a direct agreement with the town of Southampton for that $18,900 rather than take it through Kestrel. So there's a letter that I sent to Chris and to Scott that would require an agreement between the select board and Mass Audubon for that $18,900 to go towards purchase of the 40 acres at the back of Wolcott Road.
Great.
We so, and the rest of the $50,000 will be provided by Kestrel. They've approved that. And Chris just notified me that we also got a grant for $10,500 to pay for the survey, legal costs, and the papers for why am I blanking?
The former road property.
Yeah, but also no, that's that okay, yeah. So the other costs are covered basically.
Yeah. So this one, basically the total purchase is $50,000, but Kestrel has gone out and gotten the partnership with National Audubon, or Mass Audubon rather.
Yes, and they'll come up with all the other residual funding to get, once the purchase goes through, that all of it will be paid by. There won't be any cost to the town.
Right. It says here that within a certain number of days of the closing, we have to let them know that the closing is happening, and then they will transfer that $18,900 directly to the town, or through the attorneys to the town.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
If there's other questions,
right.
I'd be glad to answer.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions on that?
It sounds like what we approved at the special town meeting with some more particular details that are entirely coincident or supporting what we voted at town meeting. It's no cost to the town. All we need to do, I guess we have to sign with our grateful thanks. So moved.
Nope, that's good. Okay. Stephen, would you like to make a motion?
I did.
Okay, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
To approve entering into this partnership agreement with grateful thanks.
Okay. All right. Ellen, I heard a second, I think.
A second.
All right. All those in favor, roll call, please. Ellen.
DeBruin, aye.
John,
Lumber, aye.
Stephen,
Johnson, aye.
Fowles, aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Awesome
And
work.
thanks to Kestrel as well. We've got a couple more things up. Scott, if you want to do this one first, that's not the next one on my order. The next one is the Western Mass recycling thing. But it may not be in the package. I have it on my thing here. Hold on a minute. This came from Randall. And this is regarding the sustainable purchasing policy for the town. There we go. Thanks. And maybe you can explain a little bit more. My understanding is Randall, this is a required form that Randall needs us to sign off on. Basically, well, let's just read the 2 or 3 objectives of it. Excuse me. It's a sustainable purchasing policy for the town to minimize waste and prioritize reuse by identifying alternative options to new and single-use products and equipment, support recycling markets by purchasing products with post-consumer recycled content and that are recyclable after one use, and conserve natural resources such as energy and water, and minimize environmental impacts from pollution, greenhouse gases, and toxin hazardous products. So this is a little bit of a revised, I think, document compared to what we've usually signed, but it basically is our recycling policy that we end up signing so that Randall is eligible for recycling grants from the state, is my understanding on this. I don't know, Scott, if you have any other detail on that. Okay.
No, but it does help us open up to grant opportunities, especially with the transfer station.
Right. I think it's basically related pretty much to the transfer station. Yeah.
Is there a date on the document?
Scroll down. No, there's not. But we put the date on today, I guess. So I think this looks like it would be for my signature. So what this does, though, is refer to various websites about products that we're supposed to look for. Buying green products to the extent we can, purchasing products that are reusable. So it's basically a recycling policy for us.
Scott, can you scroll up to the header?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the sustainable purchasing policy as presented by the highway superintendent, and we authorize the chair to sign on our behalf.
Second.
Okay. All right. Second by Stephen. Okay. If no discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry,
Discussions.
Chair.
Stephen.
Yes, please.
Okay. Go ahead.
The origin of this, or the incentive or encouragement, may come out of our solid waste department. However, it is clearly meant to embrace the entire municipality. And I would just like to say that while entering town building today, I guess I felt safe, but I felt contaminated because of the amount of rock salt used on the stairway. And consistent with the intent of this, we shouldn't be using rock salt there at all. We should be using something that's less damaging to our building while providing adequate safety, real safety to the public. And I would say they're calcium-based products rather than sodium-based products. Also better for the aquifer. So if we're going to live up to this, let's start there.
Okay. Something we can certainly bring to Randall's attention. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, the town hall area is plowed by a contractor, not by the town, if I'm correct. Yeah. So it's something that maybe Randall might need to bring to that person's attention if that's not been the case. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up.
Clearly, we control the contract and the performance.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we have a motion on the floor. Could we have a roll call vote, please? All those in favor? Ellen?
DeBruin, aye.
John?
Lumber, aye.
Stephen?
Johnson, aye.
And Fowles, aye. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Scott, was the one you were showing, the community status report. Emergency declaration one. Is that right?
Yep. So in order for us to seek some, if there are any reimbursements available, our emergency manager, Chief Fasoli, and myself, we declared a state of emergency for the town of Southampton on 2/22/26 at 4 o'clock p.m. And that lasted to 2/23/26 till 6 o'clock p.m. And we would just ask for the select board to approve that as well.
Mhm. And just to clarify, we did that because the governor had made this a named storm. Is that correct?
Yeah, the governor had declared a state of emergency
Okay, right.
for
So
the state.
when it is a state of emergency at the governor's level, the municipalities have the authority to also do that. So to the extent that there might be some, well, there will be probably costs, obviously, from a lot of the Randall teamwork out on the roads, we might be eligible for some reimbursement by declaring this. Is that correctly it?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to ratify the state of emergency as declared.
Okay. We have a
Second
second? Second, Ellen. All right, thank you. All right. Again, roll call vote. All those in favor? Ellen?
DeBru and I.
John?
Lumber, aye.
Stephen?
Johnson, I.
And Fowles, aye. Okay, very good. Thanks. All righty. Let's see. Next up, just a couple things on my end. The Boston Post Cane Award. This is something I'm working on. We have it is given to the oldest person, the oldest citizen in town, and the most recent person who had it for about 5 years passed away a couple of months ago. And so working with the town clerk and also the Council on Aging director just to be sure that we have the correct person and age in mind, and we'll bring that back up in another meeting. But what we'll end up doing is getting a plaque and a certificate for that person and awarding it perhaps to that person at home if that's the most logical place to do it, or some other place. And so I'll keep you posted on that. We haven't finalized it yet. And then we have the retirement certificate for Johanna Douglas. And this is basically given in appreciation for her work as the library director for 3 years and the 8 years that she served as the youth librarian here in town. And so this will be, I don't think we need to approve it, we just need to sign it. So this is just a certificate of retirement and our appreciation from the select board. So this will be another one added to the list of things to be signed, okay? All right. Any other business that can't wait until our next regular meeting on the 17th? Does anybody have anything offhand?
I just have one quick thing,
Yeah,
just to
John?
reiterate. I brought this up before, but a little pet peeve of mine. We've got the new fire pickup truck. The old fire pickup truck is still sitting there. It still has municipal plates on it, which tells me it's still registered, or, it's registered, which means we're carrying it on our insurance policy. And maybe it's only $100 in premium, but let's figure out a way to get rid of that thing instead of sitting there for a year, and at least let's get the plates off of it and get it off the insurance rolls.
Yeah. Okay. Scott?
I'm the #1 advocate for getting rid of all the old stuff that we have around town hall, and we're just waiting for the chief to be able to transfer the plow portion to the new truck.
Okay, and that's fine. I get it. It's sitting right there on Main Street. It's not like at the police department where it's down, where their cars used to be down in the back, hidden behind the trees. It's very obvious that it's sitting there. So it's just an eyesore.
Well, we don't want to obscure our beautiful fire department.
There we go. Okay, valid point. So we've done a pretty good job of getting rid of all of our excess properties, and this one will go on the list as soon as we can get that ready to do so. So very good. We have 2 sets of minutes for approval, January 6th and February 3rd, if people have had a chance to take a look at them.
Without exception, I make a motion that we approve both.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Stephen. Okay. All those in favor? Ellen?
DeBru and I.
Lumber, aye.
Stephen?
Johnson, I.
And Fowles, aye. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so that gets through the bulk of the select board portion that we had for business. And again, people, if you would just take some time and figure out when you can get down to town hall and sign off on these various documents, that'd be appreciated. Okay, and let Judy know when you might stop by. Okay, so I think we will move into a more general budget meeting, joint meeting now with the Finance Committee. And Finance Committee, if you would like to call yourselves to order, Scott, I'll let you take down that certificate and we can see who's here for FinCom. Okay.
I see Reggie and Doug. I don't see Jamie yet, but that's a quorum.
No, Jamie's here. I see Jamie.
Oh, Jamie's
so
here.
I see
Okay.
Becky. Yep. Okay. So you want to call your meeting to
So
order as
we'll
well?
call the meeting to order at 6:25.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to basically have a joint meeting, Select Board and FinCom. We have all of our members here. So Scott, we'll turn it over to you to talk about our status on the FY27 budget and what's going on there.
Okay, so tonight's all about revenue, which is probably the most important part of any budget. It's the money that's going to be coming into us over the next fiscal year. Just wanted to start off with a couple quick slides before I go into the actual budget revenue section. So it's going to be a very difficult year. I don't think there's any question about that, as we've seen.
Can you make it a little bigger, Scott, please? Sorry.
Yeah, let me just go one second. There we go. So there's, obviously there's a lot of towns that are facing, a financial crisis as well, from South Hadley, Northampton, Amherst, everywhere across the state. But looking at just the budget right now, some of the FY27 increases, health insurance over last year's budget going to be over $400,000. Hampshire Regional, $300,000. Our retirement contribution rose $50,000. The one-time ambulance funds that we used last year, that obviously is not going to be available to us this year. The loss of revenue, the decline of new growth, and other areas, which you'll see, it could be as great as $200,000. Our capital deficit that we're going to have to start funding is $350,000. Our collective bargaining and other wages, $80,000. Our mitigation funds for leaving the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust will be, $35,000. Run-out claims to start our amortization at $25,000, and on and on and on. So how do we get into this? We've had a lot of growth over the last couple of years, and that's obviously slowed down, and it's slowing down year by year. We've had an increase in cannabis and meals tax, ambulance fees, and building permits, but again, the growth has stopped, and it's starting to level out. ARPA money is no longer available as well. We've had $200,000 plus savings from our dispatch grant that the police chief had got, but again, that next year or two, that's going to start winding down as well. Irresponsible increases or lack thereof for our health insurance, and that finally caught up to the town. We had a negative 2%, and another 0% increase. Those should have been much more steady growth every year. And it did, it obviously hit us pretty hard this year with a 40% increase. Lower compensation for the workforce, we were able to actually adjust things, and that's going to cost, some money to continue paying people at market rate. And obviously the biggest one is the lack of support from the state and federal governments. Towns are constantly restricted by Proposition 2.5, and we really depend on the state government to continue giving us, from Chapter 70, which is for our schools, or Chapter 90 for our roads, our general unrestricted governmental aid. And as you'll see, that things just haven't been able to catch up with just the basic expenses of running any town or any organization, never mind just inflation alone. So as it stands now, you'll see our property tax levy, that's set at 2.5%. Obviously, the misconception is that someone's property tax bill can't go more than 2.5% a year. Really what proposition is, it's the total amount of money that the town can levy from property taxes can't increase by more than 2.5%. We might be getting $120,000 for our state aid on the local side. The state aid on the education side is probably going to be minimal at best with the increases to our assessments. And this is just going off of the governor's budget now. There still needs to be the House budget, Senate budget, and then the joint committee between all three House, governor, and the two houses. Local receipts are going to stay, relatively stagnant, and we're going to be really just looking at $250,000 in increased revenue based against all of these costs alone. Sorry. So this is just a breakdown of where our revenue comes from. The biggest part is obviously our property tax levy, and that's close to 75%. The next largest part is going to be state aid for education. Then after that are local receipts, which is, our cannabis tax, meals tax, receipts for building permits, our state aid for the local government, and then other. Now let me just bring up the other next one. So this is, let me just move it over here. So this is our revenues organized by area. Oh, okay. As you can see, this is the column right here of our FY27 revenue, and this is our FY26 estimate. We're not done with FY26.
Scott, could you just slow down just a little bit? Just we need to absorb some of these words. But go ahead.
So our first one, our biggest chunk of money is going to be our prior year levy limit. So we're going to raise just over a little under $16 million for that. It's going to be their 2.5% increase is going to be a little under $400,000. We don't have an override scheduled yet. Our new growth, as you can see, historically went from 160 to 206 to 118, and that's going to start dropping. So maybe $100,000. It could be even a little bit less. Our debt exclusion, so these are the borrowing that we do that the towns, that the citizens voted to exclude the debt. So that's balanced off by going above the Prop 2.5. So that evens it out. And then our overlay expenses. So those are things like if someone doesn't pay their taxes, or if they qualify for an abatement for being elderly, veteran, or blind, or any of those programs. So that would come as a negative for our property tax levy. Those are essentially property taxes that we're not able to collect. The next biggest part is going to be our state local aid. And the biggest part, again, is our unrestricted government aid. And as you can see, it really doesn't go up much each year, from $760 to about $20,000 to about $9,000, and this year it's about a $20,000 increase. The state-owned land, so this is reimbursement from the state to land that they own within Southampton. That pretty much stays the same. The same thing with veterans benefits. The next part, I do have a request out to DLS to just verify this $105,000 figure. It looks like that something may have happened in the previous year, but I'm asking them to clarify that. The public library direct aid, so the $19,000 goes directly to the public library for their expenses. And then these are our abatements. So this is things that we owe the state government, and that's deducted from our total cherry sheet total.
So Scott, quick question. So even though we do not have regional transport in Southampton, we have to pay something toward that?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Why?
I'm not quite sure. I guess it's still a benefit to Southampton residents, even though there's no actual access to the regional transit.
You can get regional transport in Southampton under very unique circumstances, and if you apply for it. But I don't know of anybody that utilizes it, but it's another wonderful Boston thing.
Yeah, but at one point they were talking about PVTA having a stop in Southampton, but I haven't heard any more about that in months now. But
and I know that Kate had mentioned a special service that might be coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the next biggest portion is our state aid for education, our Chapter 70 money. Again, with the governor's budget, it increased by about $40,000. Our school receiving tuition. So this is our school choice receiving tuition. So this is money that the schools will receive from people that are incoming from outside of Southampton coming into the school for Norris. And that goes directly to the school, so that is zeroed out. The charter tuition reimbursements, so that is, again, what we receive for students going to charter schools. And then the two negatives that we have in our cherry sheets, the first one is our school choice sending tuition. So these are students from Southampton that are going to other communities that we owe for their tuition. And then the same thing with charter school tuition. students from Southampton going to a charter school outside of the town. And as you can see, those have risen significantly over the last couple of years. And the actual amount of aid so far in the governor's budget would be a slight reduction based on the assessments than what we've had in the past. The next big one is our local receipts. So these are things like our alcohol licenses, our building permits, cannabis tax, earnings on investment, things that are really on a local level. We're still calculating our motor vehicle excise taxes, but this is being a little bit conservative right now. And then finally, we do have other sources.
Wait a minute, Scott. Scott, can you back up just on the motor vehicle? Because what is that column? I don't see the header. The $117,000, 609. Is that the current year?
That is actuals till December 31st, 25.
Okay, I'm good.
And then finally, we just have our other sources of income. I'm probably going to zero out the PEG programming because that's a direct distribution. So the money comes in and then we give it directly from the charter bills to Easthampton Media. So we probably can eliminate that. Other things like our indirect costs from the enterprise fund for our water and transfer station. Those are things that the water department owes. Our FRTA indirect cost that we will receive. So reimbursement for like Bradley's time, the accountant's time, the treasurer's time for processing payroll for the van drivers. Medicaid reimbursement, which is comes from the school department, and our transfer from ambulance fees. So the amount of money that we receive for providing ambulance service, usually through insurances, that comes back to the town. So total revenue is going to be about $22,155,000 this year. And this year I did take a more conservative approach, obviously with the economy the way it is. Things like meals tax. I don't see a lot of growth coming in, so it's probably better at this point to budget a little bit more conservatively on what the potential revenues might be.
Could you just scroll up just a little bit to show that again, Scott? Sorry. So because we're a couple 100,000 less, is that right? Just on the local ones. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The local receipts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So reduction. So generally, we were receiving about building permits over $120,000, and that's going to be down to about $100,000. I talked to both Art and the building inspector today, and we still have a lot of permits coming up, but they're just not the value. So it's things, instead of new homes, it's things like remodeling, things like that. So that's going to bring in a lot less for the permits.
So you've either kept things stable or lowered some of the bigger ones that might be problematic, yeah. Okay.
That's correct. And just on the state aid education, state local aid, again, the House and the Senate and the conference committee, they're going to have to come together. So a lot of these are going to be the same. The real question is, what is the House and the Senate going to do with government aid and our Chapter 70 money? Are they going to increase it over the governor or keep it the same? And those are really the two biggest chunks. So there's not really a lot of flexibility. So, other than our property taxes, which, that's pretty much set at Prop 2.5. And then our state aid or cherry sheets, there's not a lot of wiggle room or flexibility or ways that we can raise additional revenue outside of those two options.
And remind me when we usually get our sort of final numbers, or at least more solidified numbers from the governors? Sad. I mean,
it probably won't be until late May, June till we get the state numbers, and then the assessments and things like that. Those are going to be estimates until after the July 1st fiscal year begins.
Okay. So my point was, going into town meeting, we will not have the governor's final budget for these state aid figures.
More than likely not. We'll have the estimates, but probably not.
Okay. Folks have any questions? Yeah, go ahead,
I know
John.
Steve has his hand up, or Stephen has his hand up. I'll just jump in on your question, Chris. Traditionally, we've used the governor's number, and then usually at the end, it's a little bit better, but we just allow that to fall out to free cash.
Right.
Like we
Exactly.
traditionally don't have the final numbers going into town budget.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear for anybody here who's listening who may not realize that. Yeah. Okay.
And when the
Stephen,
House and
sorry.
Senate releases theirs, we'll use the lower number to budget for.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think we've tried to be conservative on that and not assume that we're going to get everything that they think they want to give us at some point in time. But usually we've done a little bit better, sometimes anyway, than the governor's budget. But that really just depends on the given year. There's no guarantees there. Stephen, did I hear you had a question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
It's about revenue. It may be, well, it's real property related, but it's in lieu payments from Holyoke Water Department or others. I know the cherry sheet carries an amount for state-owned land, but that does not include the Holyoke water lands unless they're just rolled up into another assessment line that makes it opaque. Coming up, as we look at these energy facilities, there are going to be specific agreements with each of them about what they're going to pay for what would otherwise be personal property. So it's going to be transformed into a payment agreement. And there's some question whether it is technically legally a pilot or whether it needs to have a different title. But is the revenue showing?
No, we don't have the revenue yet for any of the new Bashista solar farms. And once that comes on, that would show in the revenues probably next year.
Sure, I wouldn't expect that. And I know I dragged us into that. The first piece is Holyoke Water Company.
Holyoke Waterworks is on this list. It's showing 0 paid to date so far. I
And
think you
how
have it at
much bill?
$70,000.
I'm sorry.
Is it on the revenue sheet, Scott?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can't control the scroll here, but
Yeah.
somewhere on there is so you have your state-owned land at 17,000, but there's another line of payment in lieu of taxes, and it's made up. I believe it's made up of 2 pieces, one being the Holyoke Waterworks, and then I don't know if it's the Holyoke Gas and Electric piece. Where is it in
Might
there?
be.
I thought I saw $70,000. Keep going. Right there, payment in lieu of taxes.
Yep.
Line 84. So they haven't paid us this year.
Got it. Thank you.
And then I would just add, Stephen, that as far as solar fields go, there's a case law, and it came into effect when I was treasurer in Holyoke. It's limited. It's $5,000 for X amount of solar. So because way back when it started with the solar, and you can negotiate this whole thing, much like the cannabis, you can negotiate the community. Yeah, then everybody gets in, then they file the appeals, and then the state came down and said it's a $5,000 token per number of kilowatts. And I probably have that spelled out somewhere.
Thank you. I wish it were more lucrative, and it's not for the upcoming tax year. As Scott pointed out, this isn't going to apply until the thing actually gets built.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and just to be clear, Stephen, can I clarify one thing? Because there are 2 Bashista solar farms, right?
Correct.
So there's one that's already been
issue.
approved at the Orchard, which is very different than the one that's being talked about at Concom right now. Correct?
They're completely different
Right.
parts of the family, separate applications. And it's the Orchard part of the family that is finalizing the payment agreement. And John is absolutely right. It's changing legal environment. We are not going to get rich on this, but I want to have a marker in there so that we fill out all the blanks.
Yeah.
And that is for future years, not this year. This year's question is, how do we get $70,000 out of Holyoke?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. You understand.
Okay. Anybody, Finance Committee, I'm not totally seeing, Becky, Reggie, Doug, anybody, Jamie, any comments, questions? Hearing none. Okay, I'll turn it back to Scott then. Go ahead.
So that's it for the revenues. I think the next meeting that we're going to have is just talking about the overall budget for the. Let me just bring up the agenda. One moment.
Scott, while you're bringing up the agenda, at this point in time, do you have a snapshot of, hey, this is what we think the revenue is, here's what we have
I
for
do.
expenses right now, and we're upside down by X?
Yep. So one of the things, so just let me just bring this back here. One moment. So this budget is based on all the requests from the departments. So as I showed with the expenses, they're pretty significant. With this, there is the Hampshire Regional Assessment, which we're using the number that they released for is the highest number, so it won't go any higher than that number. So we're budgeting with that. The Norris School, I know at the last school committee meeting that they're probably going to be looking for a restorative budget from last year with the override that failed. There's a lot of also question marks right now, especially around employee benefits that could swing several $100,000 with the maintenance. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of reductions just to right now, things that we may need, things that we could use, and things that we don't need right now. So with the select board and the finance committee going through everything and making some reductions will be necessary. But all in, I mean, this is our complete wish list. Like if we had everything, it would be about $2.4 million.
Upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say wish list, though, we'd ask people to prepare a level services budget. Is that right? I mean,
Well, that's the thing with Southampton. You know, we're not a very large community, and many of our budgets are they're very small. It's a few staff members or a staff member and some office supplies. So really, our level service budget is usually the minimum that it takes for a department to operate on.
right.
So Scott, I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't feel comfortable answering right now, that's fine. We can save it for the next time we get together. But of that 2.4 that we're upside down, what do you think can come out of this budget that is it's an ask, but let's wait a year? I mean, is it 10%? Is it 240,000? Is it?
Well, one thing I do want to just stress is I'm going to be talking about my capital plan next, and this includes $350,000 that would fund the capital program. So that's a pretty significant chunk of it. So,
and that's a new program, right? So
mm-hmm.
if we exclude that for the moment, we're still talking about 2.1 million.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And okay.
Yeah, so there's definitely some reductions that can be made. This is kind of an all-in, and obviously the biggest chunk is the restorative budget for Norris.
And I think they said that they would try to have their budget to us by next week sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is the restorative budget somewhere around 650,000?
It'd be estimated about 750,000.
750. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
what
I
put right there. So.
Of 600, 6,000,007. Okay.
I'm sorry, can you unpack that? I can't translate 6.7 million and 700,000 and what that might mean on the bottom line.
It would go, towards the liability amount right here. What the override amount would
already factored in, right?
But to answer Stephen's question, I believe when the override did not pass last year, that was like a $650,000 or $670,000 cut. So they want that restored, which is in that 6.7 number. So if we don't restore last year's cut, you can minus 700,000 from that 6.7.
Thank you. So the override amount at 2.447 million includes a restorative component for the schools.
For last year at
Right.
Norris.
So, I mean, this
For
is not
last
the
year at
override
Norris,
amount.
and it does not address the citizens' open questions about services at the regional high school.
The regional high school, that's a little bit out of our control, because it would take, several towns to not pass the budget. So we just send the assessment essentially, once it's passed by town meeting and the select board, unless at least 2 towns disagree with it. And then at that point, the budget for the Hampshire Regional wouldn't pass.
Thank you. That's very clear and very important, but I wanted to distinguish between what the Select Board and Finance Committee are considering here, and your spreadsheet is in support of a restorative budget for Norris, and whatever we've been given by the regional school district. So whatever issues there are about services at the regional high school need to be addressed there, not at the town budget level.
I do want to just
correct?
stress that this number is not going to be the override amount and that there will be reductions.
Yeah. This is the basic, this is how bad it is, but we're going to have to make cuts. There's no way we can go for this amount. And I'm in support of some level of restoration for Norris, but I'd be surprised if we can restore the entire thing.
Right.
I think we got to get some teachers back, but I don't know if we can manage to do the entire thing. I think that's the next level of discussion we've got to have.
Right.
I see. Then I would say this is the structural deficit that the town has acquired over a number of years. And these are not radical policy choices. These are prudent fiscal policies embedded in this that have been neglected for years. So we're behind the curve, and it's going to be immensely painful. But I think this, in fact, is level services responsible framework, and we can tinker at a percentage here or there. I'm open to that, but I would say that this is appropriately labeled. We're looking at about a 2 million plus override.
So and Chris, I don't know if you see it, but Becky
Go
has
ahead,
her
John.
hand up.
Yep.
Well, and Becky has her hand up, and then I'll say one thing quick.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
I get
Betsy,
it.
sorry. Yep.
700,000 Norris restored is only 30%, right? So that's still 60% of this is coming from the town side, which is, again, I agree with you, Chris and Scott. We can't ask for 2.4, and we've got to work. But this is the starting point where we're working at, and
Right.
everything's on the table.
Yep. Becky?
Just a quick question to clarify the Norris thing. So there's 700, 750 restorative, and then is there an additional percentage on top of that that's in the budget for this year?
So they believe that they would be able to restore most services lost last year with that $750,000 all in.
Thanks.
So this is Reggie. I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Reggie. Sorry. Thanks. Just shout out at me. Thanks.
So back to Norris. I mean, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a 15% increase over last year, which even though it's money that didn't get approved last year, it's a huge increase. And Scott mentioned that he hasn't adjusted the benefits yet, but there's going to be increased benefits. He hasn't shown any increased benefits for additional positions. So I disagree with Stephen. I think it's a huge ask to go up that much. And a strategic part of it too is 2.5 million is going to be a really big ask, and maybe some lesser number would be more successful.
And I just piggyback, and I know you're going to get to it, Scott, but is your thought to ultimately recommend like 2 separate overrides, one for the operating budget and then one for capital? Or is it going to be one question consolidating both numbers?
I think it would be one question just because we're almost $8 million in a deficit for our capital program right now. We have not funded it adequately over the last 10, 20 years. Some of our debt exclusions have failed. This $350,000 isn't just for trucks, but it's also for North School. It's for the library. It's for the senior center. It's just things that we need to keep basic services running. So it would allow us to get, to order a new ambulance, to order a new pumper truck in a few years. So I think that this is a vital component. If we save our operational side, if we keep DPW workers or our highway workers, that's great, but they're not going to have any equipment to do their jobs. And if we save Norris teachers, they're going to have a flooded classroom. They're not going to have the sidewalks. You're not going to have the things that they're going to need to provide, for the students. So I think it goes hand in hand.
All right. Anyone, Doug, Jamie, anybody questions? If not, just holler at me if you have any. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Stephen.
if you want to bring it back to the board, I just wanted to note that even though Scott has done a very good job of looking at our basic capital needs over several years, there is no money allocated for consultants or other work at Zero College Highway. Okay. The only way that incremental progress is made there is through specific grant funding, which we are pursuing. But just wanted to reassure the voters that there's nothing in here for expensive plans paid for from whatever source. Okay.
Right. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
I do have one question. It's Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, go ahead.
So Scott, looking at this at the debt service, is there a line graph or something about when some of the 403,274 would be falling off the books? Because, if we're looking to crunch numbers here, if in the next couple of years that's on the horizon, then that could support some of the capital needs if we know when some of that is falling down. I think it's important information about, how do we fund projects? If we have some of our debt falling down, then maybe that's the recommendation.
I mean, we do, but most of our debt, the vast majority is through debt exclusions, which is funded above and beyond Prop 2.5. So we don't actually have any other than the highway heating system that's coming up and a loader. That's just going to be reflected in the tax bills. So the
403,274, what does that represent?
That's going to be our total debt payments minus so in the revenue, it's going to be the debt exclusions. So that's our total debt.
Yeah, said differently, when the debt exclusions fall off, it's not going to, open up additional funds.
Okay.
It may give, the taxpayers some relief that would, sway them to support, future funding, but it's not going to open anything up in the budget because one comes off, the revenue comes off and the expense comes off.
Right.
Thank you, Doug. That's what I understood. And furthermore, at the margin, it is debt. And to the extent that there's an amount of debt retired, if we're in good fiscal health, our borrowing capacity overall would improve, subject to specific citizen approval for funding requests. So both things are true at the same time. It's just not going to amount to a lot because of the way we've done everything by debt exclusion, and we have small town, small budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Scott, go ahead.
So that's kind of a snapshot where we are right now. We've been having a lot of progress with the budget task force reviewing everything. We have another meeting on Thursday, a little bit longer. So I think it's a good opportunity for a lot of the different stakeholders to get together and express, what their ideas are, where cuts might be made, what would an override look like? And then after that, I think that we would need to get together and go through the budget once we get the task force recommendation and kind of show the select board and the FinCom what might be possible with an override of a certain amount. And I think it's also important to demonstrate what the budget and what town and school services might look like without an override, which will be included as well.
Yeah, it feels like we've got to prepare two things in a way, right? I mean, at least we have to also be prepared in case something does not pass, right? So, and what that really means would be, I'm sure, will be an eye opener when you get down to those figures. But I think we have to be prepared for that as well.
And as I showed in the first slide, there's very little revenue that have been increased. And a lot of the things, almost a third of our budget is set in stone, things like maintenance, employee benefits, retirement contribution, debt, those types of things, they're just, you can't really reduce them because, we have to keep the street light on. We have to be able to heat Norris and Town Hall. We have to pay retirement benefits. So there's not a lot of wiggle room with almost a third of our budget.
John?
Yeah, Chris, yeah. The other thing that I want to make sure that at least I, as a select board member and a town voter, clearly understand is I would like, when we do get to the point where we're talking about all this stuff, to collectively at the select board and finance level, when we're going to take all the recommendations and then we're going to come out with the final product, and each one of us will be able to weigh in and say, I think this should be reduced or increased, whatever the case is. Let's get to the final product so we can have our final debate. I would like it clearly articulated how the town voters, what their options are when it comes to the Hampshire regional budget. I understand it's the number that comes down, and I get that. But I believe we are not the only community of the 5 that's going to require an override in order to sustain the number that's proposed right now by Hampshire Regional, which I get is the ceiling, and it may stay there, it may drop, time will tell. But there has to be, I know the answer to this, but I want it in the record. There has to be a way that line item, that section, could be defeated at the town meeting, and the rest of the budget moves forward. And I just feel that we need education on that, because to Scott's point, it only takes 2 communities to vote down the Hampshire regional budget, and it sends it back. And I'm not advocating that that's what we need to do. It's just everything needs to be on the table. We need to understand everything. So when we get to that last day where this is it, and we're going to meeting, everybody knows what their options are, and then they can exercise their right to vote as they see fit.
Yeah. Okay, valid point. I think, as we move forward, we've obviously got, as Scott mentioned, the budget task force is coming up. So within the next week or so, we'll definitely be into the mode of, okay, what can be reduced, what's absolutely essential and really can't move very far, or there's not enough extra money around there to even make that reduction make sense. And then are there other things that maybe we can push off and do without? It's a position that doesn't get filled. It's, whatever it may be. I think all of those are the discussions that we've got to have, coming up in the next week or two. But I would hope, Scott, I know you've been talking about, just doing some other basic public education kind of stuff. I mean, I think we've really got to get, I know there's a few people listening tonight, and thank you for joining in. But, we definitely have got to get information out that people are understanding the whole situation. I mean, this is a conundrum that we are not the only town that's in it. I mean, my God, I'd hate to be in another town that I can think of that's, going for some amazing amount of override that I had heard was something closer to $11 million, which I just can't even fathom in my brain. So, I know we've got a lot of hard work to do, but I think we can put our heads to the grind here and see if we can get it done. But it won't be easy, and I'm sure we'll have some disagreements, but we've got to do it. So, Ellen, yeah.
Point of order.
Nope. Okay. Nope. Stephen, sorry. Yep.
Um, excuse me, but I really want to be clear how we move these important facts out to an engaged community that can then develop it into advocacy. And there's a lot of law around what we as elected officials or town employees cannot do. But I want to make sure that at least we're transmitting the right quality and quantity of information to to everyone who is affected, that they might exercise their First Amendment rights. That's all.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to bring up tonight on the budget, Scott, or are we nothing? This is kind of just to give us the overview of what the revenues look like and how far in the hole we are right now. Okay.
So, I mean, we still have a few minor or smaller departments. Committees that have budgets, parks, cemetery, conservation, that we'll have to get to, but those are very, it's a few $1,000s. It's not millions like other departments. So, with all the budget hearings concluded, now comes really the difficult part of forming the budget, which is refining everything, reductions, and making different priorities.
Mm-hmm. And part of that will be figuring out how we apply I guess not only the priorities, but how we apply the cuts. I mean, you can slice the pie many ways, right? So you could decide that it's an X% cut across the board, or it's I don't know how we do that, but I think that's the discussion we've got to have going forward at some point, right?
Yep, that's correct. I mean, I always advocate for more targeted cuts than just general cuts. But yeah, I mean, so with the override budget, I mean, we're going to have to produce an override budget, but then we're also going to have to produce a reduction budget. And realistically, it won't be death by 1,000 cuts if it's a reduction budget. It's going to be significant reductions across all departments.
And I guess, Chris, that's where I was going is I think I don't think, well, I hope so. I don't think the product that's going to come before us is good. We're going to be able to support it as is. I think, yes, we'll have a number. Here's the override number. That's it. That's relatively easy if we can feel comfortable with that number, whatever it might be, between select board and finance committee. But it's what do we do if it doesn't pass? And that's where I think we're going to need a couple meetings of, the elected and appointed folks to just say, okay, I value committee input and the task force is a great idea. It's getting a lot of input, but at some point it's just got to come in and, we take Scott's recommendations and he's going to put his best foot forward on what it is. But we've got to make the difficult decisions. And the sooner we can come up with the number, the sooner we can start the education campaign.
Totally agree. Yep. Totally agree. Yep.
2 months minus 1 day.
Yeah. Okay. If nothing else on that topic, I think I don't know if there was anything else under old business. We had talked about the 24 audit last meeting briefly. Excuse me. Here's my voice. We're still making progress on that, but the auditor has begun some of their work. I know they've been querying Bradley on certain things, but we've got more documents to give them, so that's not complete by any means yet. And we have our next regular select board meeting, I believe, on the 17th. So 17th and 31st, we actually have 3 regular Tuesday meetings this month. Okay. Is there anybody else have any other questions? I think if not, we'll just allow folks to swing by town hall when you can, select board folks, and sign those papers, and sometime during the week if you possibly can. Otherwise, I will take a motion to adjourn if we're set to go.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
I heard Ellen. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Giving it a second.
And Stephen, you want to second that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And well, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and vote. Select board, go ahead. All those in favor?
Glover, aye.
Johnson, aye.
And Fowles, aye. And then Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Just hand up.
I think Reggie wanted us to vote on the minutes if possible before we adjourned, but
Okay.
Yeah, how about it? There are two sets of minutes, February 19th and 25th.
Thank you all.
Bye.
I'll make a motion to pass the Finance Committee minutes from, I'm sorry, I know February 11th, and what was the other date?
It was February 19th and 25th.
Thank you. So make a motion to pass the minutes from February 19th and 25th for the Finance Committee.
I'll
Is there a
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't there.
Okay. So now would you like to formally adjourn?
No, yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Very good.
7-11.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, we are adjourned at 7:11. Thanks everybody for joining in. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Chris, Scott.
Yep. Stay safe out there.
Recording
All right.
stopped.